waved her hand in front of her face to dissipate the sickeningly sweet smell. Then, she let it drop to her side as she took in the scenery. "Move." Briar had been staring up at the Gothic Revival architecture, working up the courage to go inside for her first college class with other students. Now, however, she narrowed her eyes at the man who spoke. Pointedly, she stared at the available sidewalk around her. In response, he merely raised a dark eyebrow bisected with a scar.
"Don't be a dick, Sylvain. Sorry, miss."
A behemoth of a man with blonde hair elbowed his friend and tipped his chin in an old-world way that made her smile. The dark man snorted, and her good feelings melted away. "Walk around me. I'm not taking up the entire sidewalk." At 5.5 feet, Briar was solidly average. The dark man seemed to bulk up at her challenge, and for the first time, she really studied him. A foot taller than she was, he had tan skin and shoulder-length wavy brown hair. Broad shoulders and thick arms, clad in a long-sleeved tee, complemented the lumberjack look he had going. Sylvain. She amended the occupation she'd mentally assigned him. Instead of a lumberjack, he looked like a man who lived alone in the Appalachian Mountains near her parents' home in Beckley, West Virginia. With the manners he displayed, it seemed a fitting characterization.
"What?"
he asked, and she realized she'd been staring. "I'm just wondering how long it's been since you've spoken to other humans," she mused, not trying to hide her sarcasm. "You seem out of practice." His dark eyes widened for a second, but when his friend burst out laughing, they narrowed again. Mumbling something under his breath, he dipped his head and strode toward the building. "Hope I don't have class with that guy," she muttered, and the light-haired man laughed again.
"Don't worry, you won't. Sylvain's too dumb for college. Have a good day, miss. It's been a pleasure."
Like he had earlier, the man addressed her formally. When he bowed, hand over his heart, Briar took a step back, surprised. "Goodbye," she replied, and watched as he followed Sylvain inside. It took her a moment to gather herself and remember what her purpose was. She was used to deflecting snarky comments, so Sylvain hadn't bothered her as much as his friend's actions had. Those had left her off balance and confused. A part of her wondered if the man had been making fun of her and his friend. Annoyed at herself for being distracted by a single unexpected blip, she straightened her shoulders and went inside. It was late afternoon, but sunlight still poured in from the windows. The outside of the building belied the bright, open interior. Light floors and stainless steel fixtures made the room seem full of light, and instinctively, Briar searched for the shadows. Her skin was covered, white button gloves on her hands, and long sleeves right over her wrists, but she knew what would happen if an inch of her skin came into contact with the sun. This room seemed to be designed to be in the light, no matter where she stood. She'd been less nervous outside, which didn't make any sense. But pain changed a person's brain, she reminded herself, and her reactions to things weren't always rational. There was no reason to hide at the edge of rooms. She was covered, and if she hadn't burned outside, she wouldn't burn inside. Taking a deep breath to shore up her nerves, she searched for a map of the building, identified the auditorium where Professor Nors was lecturing, and made her way there. As she suspected, all she needed to do was follow the hordes of people to find the hall. Professor Nors's mysteriousness made him that much more popular. If his communication with her was any indication, he would have a ton of other scientists and students dying to ask him questions or hear of his latest discoveries. Briar caught her breath when she entered. Built like an amphitheater, the room was teeming with people, and the seats were quickly filling. Some had already given up and staked out a piece of the wall. Energy hummed through the room, as if they were fans waiting for a rock star to appear. Briar moved as close to the front as possible. Grateful, in this room at least, there were no windows. She was able to slide her hat off her head and remove her gloves and immediately felt more at ease. Those pieces of clothing were the things that